So this has been dropped in my DMs by multiple people. I guess because there's a comment that says, let's get Aztecross to react to this. Lord of mercy, I have no idea what we're about to watch. Despite the title saying the red subclass is real and I can prove it. Oh, God.
It's my first whiteboard video, so it's something new I'm trying. The mic quality's not going to be that good. The whiteboard's pretty small. I'm planning on upgrading it eventually, but this is a new work in progress for the type of videos that I might make in the future. As we all know, in the community, there's been some grand conspiracies about the potential red subclass, because in the lead up to Renegades, there was a lot of people all over social media, on Twitter, on Reddit, on YouTube, saying maybe Bungie has kept the 6th subclass a secret and they're gonna bring it in Renegades. Well, as we know, Renegades came out and yeah, we got no red subclass. But what I do think happened in Renegades is Bungie, I think, teased the existence of this subclass through the new Eclipse energy, which they were talking about throughout the Renegades campaign. This Eclipse energy is the same energy that was used in the Nightfall station weapon, which is basically the Death Star of the story. As it also empowered Premier Loom through his chest piece when we were fighting him in the final mission. And he said, "This Eclipse energy is an anathema to you, but I use it to make myself strong." So I think Bungie is doing something a little similar that they did with the Shadowkeep campaign. And at the end of the Shadowkeep campaign, where they hinted towards the existence of stasis, I think they're hinting at the existence of this 6th red subclass. And so in this video...
Anybody else feel like they're sitting in class right now? No, I mean, he's doing a really good job of like presenting his information, but does anybody feel like I feel like I'm sitting in class right now?
I'm going to be giving this grand theory about the existence of Eclipse as the new subclass, which we will be building towards with the release of the subclass in sometime in the future, maybe Shattered Cycle or Alchemist or whatever. But I think Bungie is building towards it. We're going to break it down. We're going to lay out the basics of the lore and really talk about what is this Eclipse energy. So let's get into it. This stinks, man. Whiteboards stink. So, Eclipse energy. Let's write it down. Eclipse energy. Start off, let's be very clear. Eclipse energy is not paracausal. Paracausality is a term within the lore of Destiny, which basically means it gives you the ability to make your own fate. As we all know, the famous line from the Vault of Glass raid, where, you know, we're fighting the Vex, and we're about to be erased from time, but Guardians make their own fate, and we break this erasure that's about to fall upon us from Atheon. And this is due to our paracausality as Guardians, our ability to exist outside the known laws of the universe and do things that are, you know, would be impossible otherwise. You know, things like being able to use void energy to create a black hole in the palm of my hand out of nothing and have it not be able to affect anything around me, right? This is due to a paracausality, because in the known laws of the universe, you can't just make a black hole in the palm of your hand and use it however you want. And
somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Even though the Vex have almost complete control over time and can manipulate time in whatever direction they want and run countless simulations, they are not paracausal. Stop acting like you haven't played this shit already. Guys, listen to me right now. No, all bullshit aside, I have not played with the red subclass. I know I've never seen a red subclass. I've never seen a hint of a red subclass. I've never seen a whiteboard somewhere at Bungie that might have something that shows a red subclass. I've never even had a conversation with the developer about a red subclass. If it exists, it has not been mentioned, not even once, at least to me. I'm just a guy, but maybe it's been mentioned to someone else, but it's never been mentioned to me, not even once. Lies, you told us, you asked. All right, let me back up real quick. We had an interview. The first question I asked, this is before Final Shape, was so about that red subclass, in which all the developers laughed and they said, yeah, this has been a running joke here at the studio. we don't have a red subclass. We've got prismatic though. And the red subclass was just some art station something. And I asked him, I said, all right, so you're telling me we're not going to get a red subclass? That's not a thing? And they said, no, never been a thing, never will be a thing. Now, a few months after that, 6 months after that, Tyson was in an interview. And what did he say? He said, I like the color red. So, and that was kind of a play from, I guess, Tyson. So what I'm saying is, since then, maybe a red subclass has been discussed, but nothing's ever come my way. And nothing has come outside of that one thing that Tyson said. He said he liked the color red. I don't you know what I'm coming from? What does that mean? Maybe does he like it enough to make it another subclass? I don't know.
Paracausality is broken down into two forces that exist within the Destiny universe. And that's the force of the light and the force of the dark. And these forces, for the longest time within Destiny universe, was believed to be opposed to one another. That the light was good and the dark was bad. But throughout the years, we've come to learn that that's not true, right? The light and the dark are neutral forces that exist within the Destiny universe. They are paracausal forces that are responsible to different aspects of the universe. The light is responsible for the material reality, right? So things like matter, energy, and the dark is responsible for the immaterial reality. So like consciousness, spirituality. And there's different properties towards how you can gain access to these paracausal abilities. For example, the light is given and the dark is taken, right? So what this means is the light can only be granted to you. The power of the light can only be granted to you by the traveler, and the dark can be accessed on your own, through your own actions. So basically any living thing can access powers of the dark, but only those chosen and gifted by the traveler can use the light. Eclipse, like I said before, is not paracausal. And what a lot of people on like the Destiny lore side of Reddit and Twitter, they were saying, after the campaign, Eclipse can't be the 6th subclass because it's not paracausal. Because we can only use paracausal abilities, because otherwise, if we use like a Siva subclass, right, as an example, it's conventional. It doesn't break the laws of reality, and so it can be easily like defeated.
And I did ask that question too, guys. I did ask in that interview. Why I asked, is Siva paracausal, or could Siva ever be paracausal? And essentially what was alluded to was no, and therefore a Siva subclass would never make sense. And can I just say, Siva's really not that interesting. I personally would not be. If you drop me a red subclass and it was a Siva-based subclass, I don't think it's that interesting. As a subclass, no.
By conventional means, unlike paracausal powers, which is you can't really do much with them. You can't really do much against them because they break the laws of reality. But just because Eclipse is not paracausal, it doesn't mean it's not a power that is on the same level or equal to paracausal abilities. And this is where I'm going to propose the idea that the Eclipse energy falls within the terminology of anti-causal, which is something I'm this is my term. I'm coining this myself. Okay, I know some people have called it anti-paracausal. I think that's a mouthful. I'm calling it anti-causal because I think it sounds cooler. So you have the paracausal forces of the universe.
I see where he's going with this.
And then you have this new anti-causal force of the universe. And we see this within the campaign of Renegades, where when this Eclipse energy is used against Guardians with paracausal abilities, they die instantly. We saw it when the Nightfall station struck Mars, right? All the Guardians that were hit by the attack were instantly killed, but all the people who weren't Guardians were left unscathed. The Eclipse energy is somehow really good at tackling the paracausal reality. So what does it mean to be anti-causal? So there's a couple of answers to this question from, I think, a aspect of more real-life science as well as thematically throughout the story of the Fate Saga. So first, let's go with the theme. The theme of the Fate Saga that we're in right now is the question of, do we make our own fate, right? Throughout the Light and Darkness saga, we had this belief that because we're paracausal, we have control over our own fate, our own reality. But in the Fate saga, we're kind of left with this question of, do we really? Because the 9, as revealed in Edge of Fate, have actually been in control the entire time. They've been pulling the strings in the background the entire time throughout the Light and Darkness saga, right? Anything that was done in the Light and Darkness saga, the 9 played a hand in it, even if we didn't realize it. The 9 have always been involved, and that's because the 9 are fourth dimensional beings who exist outside of time. And so they can look at the entire timeline of the universe and they can manipulate it to their will, right? And so we're kind of left with the question is, have we been in control this whole time? Have we been in control of our own fate with our paracausality the whole time? And so you kind of have this thematically where you have this anti-causal energy from the 9, because they like to say they're in control of our fate, right? They're the ones pulling the strings. So thematically, these are opposing energies.
Yep.
Paracausality is to say, I make my own fate. Well,
this is such a good theory. What he's essentially saying right now is that it's not 3 light to 3 dark, and that's one side to each coin. They're all in the same category together. So technically speaking, if you were going 1-to-1, we wouldn't get a third darkness subclass. We would get what he's calling anti-causal. And if you were going 1-to-1, it would be 5 of those classes. If there was ever a sequel being made, this is the kind of shit that, in my opinion, would show up in a sequel.
Anti-causality is to say,
I'm buying this shit.
I make your fate, right? From the 9's perspective, I make my own fate, I make your own fate, right? If you've ever watched Gurren Lagann, it's a bit of a nerdy reference here. I kind of like to think of it as like the spiral and the anti-spiral, if you know that lore from Gurren Lagann, where there's the forces of the spiral, right? And then there's the forces of the anti-spiral. We have the forces of paracausality, which is the humans, the guardians. The forces of anti-causality, the 9. You could also draw a kind of parallel between the existence of like matter and antimatter, where paracausality you could say is kind of like matter, right? And anti-causality is like antimatter. Now, I'm no physicist, but what I do know about this stuff is like, these are different types of stuff that are like opposite, okay? They're like completely opposite from one another, so that when they come together, it cancels each other out.
Cancels each other out.
It's like putting 1 plus -1 equals 0, right? It obliterates. It's kind of the same thing with causal and anti-causal abilities, where when paracausal energy meets anti-causal.
By the way, my physics knowledge ends at YouTube videos, but I will say you can go down a rabbit hole and that kind of shit.
Causal energy, they cancel each other out. And that's what we saw in the many different cutscenes of Edge of Fate, where when the eclipse energy was used against paracausal abilities, like the light, like the dark, it was able to completely negate the paracausality. You're supposed to make your own fate with paracausal abilities, but Eclipse was able to put an end to that, right? And for this reason, I think these guys are opposed, right? And so Eclipse is this energy that, although is not paracausal, is still in a way equal to, but opposite of paracausal energy. And so there is a world in which this Eclipse energy could be used in a similar way as paracausal energy is through the light and darkness subclasses. It just wouldn't be light or dark or paracausal, it would be its own thing and an anti-causal ability subclass thing. Okay, but here's some problems, right? If we know that Eclipse energy, which is anti-causal, if it comes into contact with light and dark abilities, or paracausal energy, it cancels each other out and is not very good for the light-based guardians who come into contact with it because they die. We saw that in the campaign. So how is it possible that a paracausal guardian could use an anti-causal ability like Eclipse.
Well, hold on. I do want to back up real quick. Wasn't there a point in the campaign where it said if the weapon was turned toward the last city, Zavala would live because Zavala no longer has a ghost? The darkness user wouldn't die. Oh, does this undermine this theory then? Because if Eclipse is anti-causal and it's the opposite of paracausal, they did imply that he would be fine. He would only kill anyone with the light. Oh, I'm still hear this out. I'm on board with this shit, but that was mentioned in the campaign.
And not die, right? But what we learned from the Renegades campaign is that the 9 can be bound to human bodies, right? So the 9, which is the source of this eclipse energy, as we learned from 6 being the source of the eclipse energy that they use in the campaign, when the 9 are bound within a body, they are no longer capable of existing outside of time. It's almost as if they come into third dimensional space through this weird sci-fi way, and they are no longer able to manipulate fate. There is some lore about this where, you know, whenever 6 went into Dredge and Bale's body to speak, it was unable to like see the future and predict our plans.
Yep.
So for that reason, to bind all 9 to a human body, it will allow us to deny their ability to make our fate. It would be a way to deal with their anti-causal energy. So if, in some way, the Guardian that we play as is capable of binding one of the 9 to ourselves, the source of this anti-causal power, it might in some way make us immune to anti-causal energy, which will allow us to use both paracausal and anti-causal abilities at the same time. Obviously, that's just a part of that is like just video game logic and you know, sci-fi mumbo jumbo, but like in the realm of Destiny where the lore can sometimes be like made up on the spot.
Would we have a choice? I don't think Bungie would ever go that deep with it, but I love it. I really do. Like, imagine if you like could choose, you can only choose one, but you could choose one of the 9 to bind to you. You'd be like, yeah, I'll take Crazy 6. You know what I mean?
I don't think it's that bad of an idea, right? So, in conclusion, let's summarize this theory for a little bit, okay? Eclipse energy, which was revealed to us in the campaign, the Renegades campaign, comes from the 9, right? The 9 bestowed this eclipse energy, and this energy is anti-causal, which is opposite but equal to paracausality, because the nature of anti-causality is to say, I make your own fate, while the nature of paracausality is to say, I make my own fate. And so because eclipse energy is not paracausal, it still has the ability to manipulate fate in the same way paracausality does. And for that reason, it would still be capable of being wielded in a way similar to light and darkness subclasses without breaking the lore in any weird way, where it's a conventional means of battle instead of a way that breaks the laws of the universe. So this still breaks the laws of the universe. It's
like, how would that even work with Eclipse? What would we like? Cast your Eclipse super, and you just instantly kill the other Guardian, and then that's it? You know what I mean? It's like Crucible match over. I mean, you actually kill the other person?
Just in the opposite way as it does paracausality. And so for that reason, if they're able to explain away the obliteration between these two forces, we could use the Eclipse energy as a subclass. So I think,
and it is red.
I think that's it. You know, it was a little bit of word salad. I don't think I did this very well. It's my first listen, guys. It's my first whiteboard video.
It was good, man.
So
it was good.
Maybe I'll get better at it in the future. but yeah, I think let me know what you guys think about this theory about the anti-causal energies opposing the paracausal reality as a spiral anti-spiral warfare. You know what? We brought Star Wars to Destiny. Let's get Gurren Lagann in Destiny, guys. Let's get the spiral and anti-spiral war in Destiny. The paracausal and the anti-causal. But I think this would be cool. Even if it's not true, even if this isn't real, there is no red subclass, and Eclipse is just this weird anti-paracausal energy that is somehow able to oppose paracausality, and it's not its own opposite thing.
It's more interesting to see, though.
I still think this is a cool idea, so I still think it's pretty sick. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you understood what I was saying. If you think Eclipse is the red subclass that is coming to Destiny at some time in the future. But that's all for me, guys, and I hope you enjoyed my first whiteboard video and my first and this theory about the potential red subclass coming in the future. If you did enjoy, I'd greatly appreciate it. Hit the like button and subscribe button down below. But that's all for me, guys.
I will say, guys, the best people in the Destiny community really are Lord people. Really, really. Dank, good video, bud. Good video, man. If Bungie didn't have a plan for how they would ever introduce future subclasses, I would see them writing this down if they see this video, and I'm sure they will. This is in my opinion, this is a write that down moment. Okay, this is the plan. I have no idea, but if they didn't have a plan, this is a write that, because right now I always felt like things were very, because it was like, all right, I have 3 light subclasses, I have 2 dark subclasses, you're gonna give me a third. All right, you know, it's going to be something related to consciousness or whatever. You know, everybody was saying it was going to be Siva. No, that doesn't make any sense. But it seemed limiting, right? It seemed limiting. It seemed like, all right, you know, it didn't really have as much mystery to it. But if you did take this approach and you made Eclipse or anti-causal subclasses, and they are the direct counter to all of our current subclasses, dude, that would actually open up a lot of things. But I will say this to me does not seem like a D2 thing, guys. In my opinion, that to me seems like if there was a sequel being worked on, and that's still a big if, but if there was, that to me is like a D3 thing. The other side of things is, imagine a world where in the future you have five paracausal subclasses, 5 anti-causal subclasses, and you have prismatic between them both. Or you have like the prismatic for paracausal and the prismatic for anti-causal. But again, this to me, this is like big brain thoughts that I don't think we're going to see inside of Destiny 2. I could be wrong. Bungie they've got their back up against the wall right now. Things are going really bad, or at least not as good as they want it to go. So who knows? Maybe come July, we get a red subclass. I will say this. You will all know if there's a red subclass. Just like with Strand, just like with Stasis. Think about it. Think about every trailer you saw leading up to Lightfall. How many times did you see Strand before Lightfall came out? There was no mystery, man. That shit was in every trailer, on every piece of art. But again, this circles back to, is Destiny worth launching, Destiny 2, worth launching a red subclass or the next subclass on? Whether it's red or not, do you think Destiny 2 is worth launching a new subclass on? Or do we launch it in Destiny Classic? That shit would be spicy. Hold up. You do a D Classic, right? Everybody's like, oh, I'm going to get my normal whatever bullshit, right? My same stuff. And then bam! Red subclass.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.